I can't do it without
I
saying
know.
so.
In all of the vlogs that I've been looking at, that I've been making,
You say so more
I
than
know,
me.
It's like, so we just rode this,
I say
so we
like,
just
and it
rode
really
that.
annoys me.
Yeah, but at least with the vlogs, I can just cut it out, just make it go. We just rode this, we just rode that.
I'm just going to start cutting out every time I say so and
You
every
should.
time I say like.
Yeah, saying like's really stupid.
I know, but I just do it.
Like,
Oh, I
learn
just
not
did it
to.
then. We only have 20 slots for a message, and I was like, oh, people are going to just fill it up with, stupid things or something. And we have 0. We don't even have one stupid thing of them saying hi.
You believed in people too much. You overestimated people.
I was like, oh, we'll get like 1 or 2, and we
Yeah.
could just use those.
No.
No one wants to come on the pod, that's fine. We'll just continue talking, you'll just have to listen to our voices, and no one else's ever. But if you do want to send one, you can do it on the website. If there's any brave souls out there, we didn't even intro what we were talking about, so that's probably doesn't make any sense. We were talking about the, what do you call it? Like voice questions on the new website.
So Zoe set up a thing that makes it so that you can record your own voice messages, and then we'd get them, and then we could put them in. Like, you record a question for the podcast, and we'll whack it in somewhere. But Zoe had too much faith in you guys. She expected at least a few of you to do it. No one did it. If you want to change that, you go to coasterbot.com/podcast, and then there's a link at the very top that says send us a voice message. You click that, and then the instructions will be on screen with the question, well, with the topic of the podcast that we're about to record, as well as how you actually record your own voice. So do please send them in.
Somebody send 1 question in, and I will shut up.
Yes.
And I'll be happy forever.
Also, continue to rate us on iTunes and stuff like that, because it's pretty helpful.
We love seeing those. It makes us smile.
Yeah, and I've heard some good things. People are enjoying the podcast so far.
Yeah, so whack it on iTunes.
Huh?
Whack it on iTunes. If you're saying you like the pod, whack it on iTunes.
Do you mean whack it on iTunes?
Write it on iTunes so everyone can see it.
Oh, right, okay.
Don't just tell Harry about it, yeah? Tell the world.
Yeah, it's true. Do that. But yeah, the podcast is still relatively new, so, we're still going forwards, moving up, getting better. Yeah, someone was complaining that we weren't on Spotify yet, and I was trying to explain to him that it's not that easy to get on Spotify.
No. You have to be handpicked by them.
One day. So, recently, kind of recently, everyone's been making videos about the Cedar Fair loose articles policy, including myself. And that basically is, other parks have already been doing this, but Cedar Fair, on a select few rides, have made it so that you can't take any loose articles into the queue line. So this means that you can't have your phone, you can't have your wallet, you can't have any bag in the queue line. You have to put it away before you enter the queue.
That must be so boring.
Yeah, but it's not even free to put it away. It costs you $2 to use the locker. So every time you want to go on one of these rides, you have to pay $2 and then not have your phone with you in the queue line, wait however amount of time, ride it, then get your stuff back.
So you've paid how much to get in the park?
Well, in American parks, they're a bit of a rip-off in terms of prices. I think most ones are like $70.
So you've paid $70 just to get in?
Yep.
You want to go on this ride and you have to pay another $2?
Yep, I know.
But that's like the 2 different systems of paying, but they're both there.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. And when you think of it, right, it's even crazier for us Europeans because we don't even have paid lockers. Paid lockers is a thing in America where quite often someone will buy a locker for the entire day that's, I don't know, like $10, $15 because they don't have bags on the actual ride. Like sometimes they don't have the baggage holds on the ride or the bins. So they do that. But for us, there's always a method that's free. We never
Yeah.
have to pay to store our stuff.
Why should you though?
I know, it's crazy.
If they're going to make the rule of like, you can't bring this in here, then give us somewhere to put it and don't make us pay.
Yeah. So this is what people are so angry about, is the fact that they're basically saying you can't take your phone on because it might come off and hit someone, but
Yeah.
you're gonna have to pay to put it away. So
Hilarious.
they're trying to monetize like the safety concern that is loose articles, which I brought up on in the video. Do watch the video. It's
Plug.
The issues with loose articles. I made it, yeah.
Yeah.
But Cedar Fair, and particularly rides like Steel Vengeance and Twisted Timbers, those weren't even the first rides to have it on. Rides over at Six Flags like El Toro and King Dakar, they already had this policy for several years. So it's crazy. To us, it's even more crazy, but it's crazy anyway.
So, as a massive Harry Potter fan, you must be very excited about this new ride, Harry.
What do you mean? Massive?
You're a humongous Harry Potter fan.
That's not true, is it? I like Harry Potter as much as the next guy does, but...
That's like the only films that you actually watch, though.
Well, I watched several times.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, it's a good like world, you know. But yeah, the new Harry Potter coaster coming to Universal Studios Islands of Adventure in Florida. It looks interesting. Many were upset to see Dragon Challenge go, and I'm gonna be a controversial person and say that I really didn't care that they disappeared. As soon as they stopped dueling, they weren't that interesting, because these two B&M inverts, they used to duel, so they both go off the top of the lift at the same time and interact at various points of the layout.
Isn't that the whole point of them?
Yes, but then someone threw something at some other rider on the other train.
Oh,
I think
my
blinded
God.
them.
Seriously?
Yeah, and then they stopped dueling them, and then since
Oh my
then
God.
it didn't duel, and that kind of makes the whole thing redundant.
Yeah.
Because outside of the queue line, the theming of these two coasters wasn't great anyway, and then they're not even, or so I've heard, they're not that great inverts to begin with, so
I guess the dueling was the only fun bit that kind
Yeah.
of added something new.
they were designed to duel. As soon as they stopped doing that, what's the point? And the amount of land these two coasters used was massive, and we could see that by the amount of land that they've got to play with on the new coaster. So the new coaster is a Intamin multi-launch coaster. I think it's got like 5 or 6 different launches.
Why does it have so many?
Well, because it's a story-driven ride, so at multiple points it kind of slows down to go
Oh,
through.
that's going to be good.
Yeah, slows down to go through scenes. There's like Hagrid's hut. You go through one of that scene. There's loads of other scenes. There's various trick track elements as well, where the track either like drops down or tilts or moves or whatever. It's much more of a themed ride. I think there's a lot of track already, but as soon as they get all the track in and start building stuff around it, that's going to be the real interesting thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Dragon Challenge was literally just a kind of like a hole of concrete. That was it. Whereas this is going to be much more nice to look at, and I imagine much more of a theatrical experience, which is something that the park, that kind of park, should have rather than Dragon Challenge. Yeah, sure, it's going to be more of a family coaster, right? And people are like, oh, they're losing the thrill coaster. But who cares, man? It's going to be a good family coaster, a theatrical family coaster, and something that nowadays rides kind of just need to be a bit better than just being a ride, you know? The best parks in the world.
Everybody's over that now. It
Exactly,
needs
everyone is
something
over it.
extra.
The best parks in the world make experiences, and this is going to be a good experience. So,
Isn't it at Universal?
yeah.
So why the hell did they have that stupid dragon ride?
It opened with the park in
But what-
1999.
Yeah, I get rid of it. I agree.
Yeah. But yeah,
That's
no,
so crazy for Universal to have that.
well, yeah, Universal does have big rides. They're not like Disney. They do have a few more thrilling
No, but
coasters.
I mean, it looks rubbish for them.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. So, and people, you know, are like, oh, Harry Potter's taken over everything. Honestly, I think it's quite a good IP to have.
Yeah.
It's pretty diverse. There's a lot of things you can do with it. It's not really stale or...
And I don't even really like Harry Potter that much, but I still think it's a cool ride.
Well, yeah, I'm not like a massive fan. You know, your mum's a huge fan, but
Yeah, but I don't even like watching the films.
yeah.
You know?
But there's a lot of potential with
Yeah.
a ride of that nature. So it should be interesting to see. 2019 is going to be a very interesting year.
All right, so this week we're going to be talking about credits, ride credits, and rides that some people think are credits and some don't, and some where people think there's more than one credit. Quite controversial, but we've got a lot of tweets about different rides where, you know, people have different opinions, so we're going to talk kind of through them. We're going to do the questions from Twitter like integrated into it this week because it kind of fits in well.
So it's going to be your one-stop shop for learning what counts as a credit, what doesn't count as a credit, and the rules of counting credits in our eyes, basically.
Yes. How many credits have you got, Harry?
I have 113 credits.
Wow.
Yes.
Wait, you only just got 100?
Yeah.
You added like 13 after that ride?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, how many did I have?
You have 57.
Hey.
But there's a potential by the middle of September to have 67 or
That's
more,
very
actually.
exciting.
You know, we've still got some more credits to gain. So,
To be fair, I don't really count credits. I don't really care how many rides I've been on.
Mhm.
Do you? I don't think you really care that much, do you?
no, I don't really care.
Some people like swear by it, you know, they're like, yes, we got to get 1,000 credits or however many those people have.
I think it's interesting to count them and have like a list
Yeah,
of all
it's
the roller
cool.
coasters you've been on. But
I
Just
haven't
'cause
got
you
any
got-
goals though.
yeah, just because you got loads of credits doesn't really mean anything. So,
Because you could have just been on everything one time. And what's the
Yeah.
point in that?
or you could have just been on a load of wacky worms or kiddie coasters. So,
Yeah. They should like tier the credits into like
no,
big boy credits.
that would make people pretty angry. You'd have to try and blur the line. But you'd have to figure out what's a big boy credit and what's not.
Yeah, well maybe
Right.
they should go by height.
Yeah, but then all the UK rides will be kiddie rides, won't they?
That's true.
Everything at Towers is like 20 meters or less. So all of those are going to be like family rides.
Okay, forget what I just said.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll just stick with the credits.
Yes.
Who even like started the credit thing? When
Dunno.
was that?
It probably just happened, you know. People like, oh, how many roller coasters? I mean, people like to count how many times they do stuff.
Yeah.
So they're probably like, oh, I've been on this ride 5 times. They're like, but how many different rides have you been on? I'm like, whoa.
Let's
12.
write that down and put it in an app.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're wondering what method I use to count my credits, I've literally just got a document that has every ride I've been on. So I don't use any apps or anything. I just got like an Excel document, but not Excel, a Google Sheets document with all the parks that I've been to and all the rides I've been to, and all the coasters I've been to at those parks. So,
And if you'd like to see which rides Harry's been on, you can go check it out on the website because he's written it all down for you.
yeah, coasterspot.com/credit list.
Yes.
Anyway, before we're going to get into classifying what's a credit and what's not a credit, really you have to know what's a roller coaster and what's not a roller coaster. So in your eyes, Zoe, how would you define a roller coaster? And honestly, there's no correct way to define a roller coaster. I've
Is
looked
there
in the
not?
dictionary and they're all kind of really vague anyway, so
So it's one
it's one.
it's one where you're on a track.
It's one where you're on a track.
That's exactly what's written in the dictionary.
No, it's not.
So
It's a good
you
start,
get
though.
you get rides that aren't on a track and they're not roller coasters.
Okay, so it's a roller coaster in your eyes is a ride that rolls on a
Goes
track.
around a track, yeah.
Okay, so that's,
Why? What is
I
it
mean,
in
that's a
your
solid
eyes?
definition. My eyes of a roller coaster is 2 things, and you touched on one of those. It's a ride that rolls on a track, so it has to have a track and wheels. Mm-hmm. But then it is also affected by gravity. So a roller
Okay.
coaster can only be a roller coaster if it is affected by gravity. So
Yeah.
something like a flat ride isn't really affected by gravity because it's always driven by a motor, right?
Yeah.
But
Do you
then,
want to hear something funny?
go on then.
You're going to hate me so much. When I was like 12 or whatever, probably younger actually, I thought roller coasters were like driven by a motor the whole way around.
I mean, yeah.
I thought they sped up when the motor went quicker.
It's not, I can understand why you'd think that as a kid.
Yeah.
It's honestly not that crazy.
I mean, 12, that's a little bit late, but...
Yeah, it's a bit late.
It
Late
is
to understand
me, it
physics
is
there, but-
me.
Yeah. But talking about the motors things, it's an interesting question because does a powered coaster, so a roller coaster that has motors embedded within the cars that drives it around the track, does that break the definition of a roller coaster?
But
What
do
you
they
think?
power it the whole way round?
Yeah.
Oh.
The motors
Like
are
what?
on.
What's an example?
The Runaway Mine train at Alton Towers.
Really?
Yeah, it's a powered coaster.
But that is a coaster, isn't it?
What is it?
Yeah.
Some people don't count those as coasters.
What?
But I don't think it breaks my definition of a roller coaster because that train is still affected by gravity. As soon as it goes down a hill, it speeds
Yeah,
up.
it's going to take it away anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So it
It's
doesn't
the
break
layout
the rules.
of the roller coaster style that makes it happen.
Yeah,
So if it looks like a roller coaster, then it's going to do the gravity thing. So then it is a coaster.
yeah. But gravity does take it down the hills at
Yeah.
a much speedier pace. It's just the motor brings it up the hills instead of gravity doing all the work. So
Which I guess in some cases you need that, just because.
yeah, if you want to design a ride in a certain way, then
Yeah.
you kind of have to have it. So yeah, in our eyes, powered coasters are roller coasters, and that's a lot of people like to talk about that one, and people who really, really kind of like classify roller coasters sometimes say that powered coasters aren't roller coasters. I need all the credits I can get, so I have to count them. So,
Me too.
but another one of those things that people like to classify or not classify is water coasters. So these are roller coasters, maybe, that kind of drop into water. So like half boat ride, half roller coaster.
You mean like the one at Gardaland? What was that called?
Not really, because that one's quite weird. I'm more talking about, imagine a boat,
Yeah.
right? Now imagine that boat can do like bank drops and turns on a roller coaster track, but then
On a track.
but then splashes down into water at some point.
But it's still on the track.
Yeah.
That's a coaster.
Well, yeah, of course it is. Water coasters are coasters, unsurprisingly. So the one at Gardaland, which is called Atlantide,
That's it?
that's kind of a bit different. It's got a roller coaster track to go up a lift hill, do
Didn't
a turn,
it like
and
go
a
off
drop.
the track?
It might do as it goes around the water section, yeah. So it has a roller coaster bit just to go up a hill, turn round, and down the drop. Which is weird because then it really does blur the line between like water ride
Yeah.
and coaster, whereas all the others are kind of still connected. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
Wait, so do we count that?
I don't count it.
You don't count that?
See, I have a big rule, which I'm going to get to later,
Okay.
and that's how I count my coasters, by this single rule
Okay.
ish, with exceptions. It's very difficult to count coasters. As I
Yeah.
was looking into this and trying to figure out what we're going to talk about when on this podcast, I found that it's incredibly tough, and everyone's going to count it slightly differently.
Well, it's because
So
they're all so different, and there's ones where, like you say, with Atlantide or whatever it was, that's like a merge between two things. So how will you ever know?
yeah, so I'm not counting Atlantide purely because there's no real roller coaster section. It's more of just a
Yeah, I get what you mean.
transport section, just to move you to the
Yeah.
right bit.
It's kind of like when you go up Tidal Wave,
Yeah. Well,
but
yeah,
less boaty.
it's exactly that. That's the exact job it does. So.
Yeah.
But Anthony says, I don't know what to think about water coasters. I guess they should count, maybe. I also struggle with rock and tug style attractions. I know that Cedar Fair calls their large ones coasters as they go on a track, but I don't know. So Anthony, we already discussed this. Water coasters, definitely coasters. Count them.
Yes. Take the credit and run with it, mate.
Exactly. As for rock and tugs, that
What is
gets
that?
into a whole different world.
Have I even ever seen one of these things?
Yeah, you've seen them. I don't know if you've been on one. I don't think I've been on one. But that kind of brings us to the whole world of flat rides, and then what's a flat ride and what's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So, rock and tug, it's this boat ride, right? So imagine a pirate ship.
Okay.
You've seen these. There was
Oh, when they're on a string.
Well, they're on like a curved base, and they go up the base but spin at the same time.
What?
There's one at Alton Towers.
The boat turns around.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's only a small boat, not a
Yeah.
massive one. But yeah, it goes
That
up
sounds cool.
goes up a half pipe and spins as it goes round.
Okay. That's not a coaster.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a coaster because as much as you could argue that it is affected by gravity, I think that's entirely always driven. You know, there's no real bit of it when the motor isn't doing anything.
Yeah.
So I don't think rocking tugs are roller coasters. But then that opens up a whole other world of things. So there's disco spins, like discos, which you've seen, Cobra at Chessington.
Yeah.
That little flat disc that goes up a spike and then over a hill and then up another spike and spins at the same time.
Yeah.
Kind of like a big rock and tug, really.
That's not a coaster.
Well, this
Are you
is
joking? That is
well,
not a coaster.
I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm like,
But then, wouldn't you have to have a credit for each seat because every time you sit in a different seat is a different spin?
no, it's not a different spin. It all spins at the same rate.
But you start at a different place?
So you start at a different place on roller coasters.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
That was a really stupid comment.
The only thing that makes me think, oh, well, are discos roller coasters is I imagine at the top of the spike, it really is affected by gravity, and gravity is what drives
But
it back down. But then at the same time, it's kind of like, well, it's probably still always continually powered.
Yeah.
So,
Isn't the whole cycle, like, controlled exactly
yeah.
by the motor? So even if the gravity started to try, it would just stay at the same speed anyway.
Well, I imagine the gravity has an effect of pulling it back down, but I actually don't know.
I don't think that's a coaster, though.
No, I also wouldn't count it as a coaster, but it does make me think. It makes me question, this one could be.
I mean, if you're going to get technical about it, then yes, technically it fits our definition.
Yeah, but it's still a flat ride, though.
When you look at it and you go to anybody, is that a coaster? They'll be like, no. I think we need to change our definition to be like, goes around a track, like, do you know what I mean? Not just a straight track on the ground. It needs to be a curvy that goes up and down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that one does go up and down. And if you start saying that rides have to go left and right, roller coasters have to go left and right to be a roller coaster, then you actually exclude quite a lot of roller coasters. Because there's many that don't go left or right.
Wow.
So, yeah.
This podcast is doing my head in already.
Well, yeah, this is it. The world of credits is a very difficult one.
How do people even count these things?
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. Everyone counts differently.
Yeah.
So we're going with discos. They aren't
No
credits.
credit.
T-Bot asks, are Zamperla discos and butterfly coasters credits? So discos, no. Butterfly coasters.
He's put coasters in quotations as
Well,
if
yeah.
they're not.
Well, exactly.
What are they?
These are literally, okay, imagine a V shape made
Yeah.
out of track.
Okay.
That's what it is.
What?
I'll send you the link.
There's a car goes on a V shape.
So there's a V shape of track. There's a little chain lift hill that takes you up to the top, and then it just drops you, and then you kind of just go left and right up this spike.
But this is just an advanced version of the disco.
Yeah, but this is chain driven and completely driven by gravity. So is it a coaster?
Oh, these are cool. I would say this is more of a coaster than a disco.
I would also agree. I do think this is a coaster.
Yeah. Because also when you look at it, it kind of looks like one.
It does. It looks much more like a traditional roller
Yeah.
coaster, having a little
Not a
train
flat
on it.
ride.
No, yeah, exactly.
Okay. I vote yes for them.
So there you go, Tibor. Discos, no. Butterfly coasters, yes. On the topic of flat rides, there's also Superloops. That's Larsen Superloops, and then Skywarps. So a Larsen Superloop is, imagine a loop, a vertical loop.
Yeah.
It's a flat ride with a train that just goes round the vertical loop constantly.
Okay, that's a flat ride.
Yeah, I'd agree as well because it's constantly driven by
Yeah.
a motor, and that controls the whole cycle. Right. Skywarp. Now this is a very interesting one because it's a relatively new concept. Imagine a figure eight, right?
Yeah.
Like an infinity sign, sorry.
Okay, yeah, I'm
That's
with
what it
you.
looks like.
Yeah.
2 trains, one either side of the bottom bit in the 2 valleys, right?
Right.
And then they kind of go round, as you can imagine. They're both connected, so they kind of slowly go round.
How does it run?
Well, it's driven by a set of wheels, but there are points throughout the circuit where the train is not in contact with the wheels.
How?
Well, it just, with using its own momentum, it carries on, and then gravity
Oh.
pulls it back down.
I don't know.
Which has led many to go, well, because at some points it isn't powered and it is under the effect of gravity, that's a coaster.
I'm just looking one up so I can look at it.
Yeah, it's Skywalk. And I agree, I think Skywalks are coasters purely because they're not always powered. They're not always driven. At some points they are kind of
Yeah,
free
that's
to
a
do what they want.
coaster. That's a
Yeah.
coaster.
So,
See, the thing with me is I have to just look at it and then I can tell you what it is. Because I think one of the main features of it is the look of the track and the supports, you know.
no.
But discos are like flat and they don't have
Yeah.
a real big, like a real coaster track.
Yeah.
Whereas this is literally a coaster that just never ends.
Yeah, it's just a complete circuit.
Yeah, defo coaster.
Silver Cypher disagrees with this. He says, Disco Spins, no credit. Larson Super Loops, no credit. Skywarp, no credit.
This guy's
And-
not going to have any credits by the time he gets
Yeah.
through this.
I mean, there's only one Skywalk, which is the only one that we actually class as a credit. But yeah, the other two, no. They're just,
Yeah.
they do look more flat ridey than roller coastery, and the Skywalk looks more roller coastery than flat ridey.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, it's up to your own discretion, isn't it?
Yep.
Something that is definitely not a roller coaster is a monorail. And Elliot asks, Elliot states, the High in the Sky Zeus trolley train ride at Islands of Adventure is listed on Coaster Count. And that's interesting that it is listed on Coaster Count. And Coaster Count is a website that allows you to count credits. So obviously these guys class it as a coaster. But if you Google this ride, it is purely a monorail.
They're just having a laugh, aren't they?
There's no points that this ride is affected by gravity. It is just a straight section of track that's driven. Like, not straight, but it bends left and right. It's purely a monorail. Just
That's
designed.
like a kiddie ride, right?
Yeah.
That's not a ride. Oh,
No, that's not a roller coaster.
But
it's
they
a
have one of those at
monorail.
Alton Towers, don't they?
Yeah.
That's not counted.
No, of course it's not, 'cause it's a monorail, basically.
Yeah,
Just
it's
a
a kid's
glorified
monorail.
Yeah.
There's no thrill on that, guys.
Nope.
It does look very cool though.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, it's not affected by gravity, continuously driven by a motor.
Yeah.
If you're counting this as a credit, get out.
You've got the track and nothing else.
Exactly. You don't have the rest of it.
Another issue with the credits are the 3 R's, as Harry's named them, which are retrack, relocation, and rethemes. Basically, some people think that when you retrack a ride, suddenly it becomes a brand new ride, which I don't actually agree with. I think that's the exact same ride, so why are you going to count another credit? Relocation is another one where that's the exact same ride, just in a different place, so that's a bit of a cheat. Rethemes is a tricky one though, because let's take like Air for example. It kind of changed because it was Galactica, but I'd say that's because of the headsets. So maybe if it didn't have the headsets, then I wouldn't want to count it as a new one. So if you had a ride where you just did a new theme on it, I would say maybe that's just the same credit. But with Air, because they added the headsets, it becomes a new ride because they've added something new, you know?
I severely disagree.
Do you actually?
Yep. If nothing's changed about the track, it's the same ride. Retrack
But with Air, you've got this whole new...
doesn't matter. It's the exact same ride system that takes you around the track, you know? Exact same system. Nothing's changed about the track or trains. Identical ride. It just has been reskinned, basically.
Yeah, but you've got a new... With VR, it's like... If they'd have just done the Galactica theme without the VR, then I would totally agree with you. But because they've done the VR on it, that's a new thing of like...
Yeah, but then
that's
you
a
could
credit in itself kind of thing.
But then you could argue that every new VR experience on a ride is a new credit. But
Yeah.
it's just not true. you're going round the same track each time, and it's the track that is the credit.
Okay, so
not...
you think the track's the credit?
Yes, the track's the credit.
I do think that, but I think VR deserves a credit.
No, I'm
but
not a
think
fan
how
of...
different the rides are when you ride it without and with.
Well, yeah, they're different rides, but you're still on the same track. So, yeah, the only one of the 3Rs, so that's retrack, relocations, and rethemes, that I can see being a new credit is a severe retrack. That being a ride that's heavily
If they change the layout, then yeah. But if it's just the same layout, then that's ridiculous.
Then it gets quite interesting, right?
You think because it would be a different experience of the track?
Well, no,
Like
I think
smoother or something.
I think you have to retrack a certain amount before it's a new credit.
Right.
A roller coaster in America, it had a helix, so just like 360-degree turn. I think it might have been a bit longer, but they got rid of it and made it into this like overbank turn, so a 180-degree turn instead.
See, that's changing the layout though.
But then I wouldn't count that as a new credit because not enough of it has changed.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd have to be like at least 2/3 or something.
But this is it. I would only count retracks if things changed. So Jamie says, if the ride has been retracked, then it's a new credit. I think that's...
What do you mean by retract?
It's just blowing my mind though, because I imagine he just means identical layout, just new track. But
No.
that's the same layout. You're riding the same ride, just with newer pieces of metal. You know, it's the same. So no new credit.
That's
Get out.
like if you dyed your hair and went, oh yeah, I got
It's
a new
new hair.
head of hair. No, you
It's not.
didn't.
It's
It's
not.
it's the same hair, guys.
Okay. Charlie says, Python's retracking at the Efteling. I think it's a new credit. Charlie, get out. Same ride, right? All they've done on Python is do a bit of reprofiling to make it less janky, right?
Oh,
so
that's not a new credit.
it's slightly different, but it's not a new credit. You go through the same elements in the same order, the same ride, just better. So,
Some people are really trying hard to get some more credits, aren't they?
yes, they are. So Timmy asks, is the Ghost Rider retrack a new credit? Right, and that's where it gets very interesting. So Ghost Rider was a wooden coaster, right? But then it got retracked entirely by a different company. So it started off as a ride by just some random dudes. Literally, I think that I don't even know who it was built by.
What, like an independent company?
It started off as a ride by Custom Coasters International. Sorry. So it was a wooden coaster built by this guy, CCI, right? But then after a while, it got retracked by GCI, so a different wooden roller coaster company, the ones who make Wicker Man, right? And those two companies have very different styles.
Yeah, I think that's a new credit.
So quite a lot of the rides profiling changed, and it changed the way it operated drastically, right? And I'd agree, because it's kind of like a whole different ride now, with new profiling entirely throughout the layout, some adjustments to the layout. I imagine if you rode each one, you know, the CCI version, the GCI version, it wouldn't feel very similar.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's a different ride.
I think if you're going to get a new company in, there's going to be massive differences in the way they do stuff, so it's definitely going to be a new credit.
But Python at the Efteling, that's what they did. Vekoma was too busy making other track for other rides, so they got a different manufacturer in, replaced the track, but it looks the same. It's the same layout. It's the same kind of overall feel. As I said, they just kind of reprofiled the entrances a bit to make them less janky, which makes it really difficult because that's all they kind of did for Ghost Rider as well, I think.
But it was a lot different.
But it's made it different, a lot different. I mean, maybe
Well,
it's worth
then
watching
maybe we
POV.
just need to decide when we've been on a ride if it's different or not, and then it becomes a new credit, you know?
I'm going to watch the POV. You know what? After watching those two POVs, I feel reluctant to call that a new credit.
Really?
Yeah.
It looked exactly the same.
Well, it was the same general layout with a few tweaks to the banking here and there. I imagine, because wooden coasters are, you know, a lot more shaky, I imagine it was a much smoother ride now.
Yeah.
But, it's so tough.
I think with
really
retracking,
changed.
we just need to say, generally speaking, it's not going to be a new credit.
Yeah, generally it's not, unless something massive changes.
Yeah, unless they just, you know, change the layout massively.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and as I said, everyone's going to choose differently, and I imagine there's quite a few people out there who would say that Ghost Rider is a new credit now because it's been retracked and reprofiled by a different company.
I do see what they mean with that, because
I do as well. I think that one's very difficult. It's on the very edge of either one, I'd say. Yeah, very difficult. Joe says Python retracts a credit. I don't know why he said that. But he also believes, which blows my mind,
oh wow,
Walking Dead and X are 2 credits. Now that's just crazy. That's just
Walking
crazy
Dead
talk.
and X are 2 credits.
They're the same ride system, the same roller coaster, the same cars. I mean, to be fair, X did go backwards and Walking Dead doesn't, but it's the same track, and that's it. If it's the same track, it's the same coaster. Rethemes are just a big no-no. That unless the track changes, it's the same coaster.
Yeah.
So I think it's crazy to think that rethemes are completely different. And Alex agrees. He says people who think rethemes or relocations are different creds are wrong. It's very true. Rethemes, no. Relocations, no. It's the exact same ride, just somewhere else. So there you go. That's the 3 R's. Retrack, potentially, depending on what the ride is. Rethemes, no. Relocations, no.
Amber said something quite correct, I'd say. Well, I don't actually know because I don't go on this website, but she said if it's on RCDB, it's a credit. Relocations and rethemes don't count as extra credits. Separate tracks on the same coaster count as different credits as long as they're actually different on the separate tracks. Like Steeplechase, she says.
Yeah. And my golden rule that I was alluding to earlier is what Amber said. I count basically based on RCDB.
Do you actually?
Yeah, so if the roller coaster's on RCDB, it's a credit for me.
Wow, you're so lazy, mate.
But there are exceptions to that because some rides are counted like separately on RCDB. So if you have a racing coaster, which we'll get onto soon, they're under the same kind of general page, but then it separates the 2 stats of each one. Mm-hmm. So you get like left and then right. Same on Steeplechase, you get like red, yellow, and green. So each one has a little separate section with their own little stats. And yeah, that's fine. But then on Mobius Loop coasters, it doesn't do that. And that's very interesting. And
Which ones are they?
Grand National.
Okay. Oh, let's not.
Which is where I kind of defer from using RCDB because I believe that Grand National is 2 credits.
We've had this fight so many times.
And we will continue to have that fight shortly later on.
Until we die.
But yeah, I do generally use RCDB with a few changes here and there depending on what's what. It's generally quite a good resource for what's a roller coaster and what's not a roller coaster. But I still have my own overriding rules if RCDB doesn't play to my liking. So something we haven't spoke about yet is new trains. So some rides have undergone complete transformations with different train systems. So an example is a stand-up coaster called Mantis became a floorless roller coaster called Rougarou. So instead of standing up now, there's trains where you just sit down.
I think that counts. If you're changing it from one seating position to another seating position or standing position, that counts. But
you think that's 2 credits?
Yeah, but if you had a new train where you were sat down again.
See, again, I disagree. It's the same layout, the same track, the same ride.
But you're in a different position.
The same credit.
No, okay.
Doesn't matter, you still go around the same track.
But imagine you went on Hero, as it is now.
Yeah.
And then you went around Hero, like, dangling underneath it, just sat down.
Yeah. It'd be just as bad.
Completely different ride.
No, it's the same track. I don't care how you go around it. It's the same.
Yeah, but you changing your seating position changes the ride a lot more than, adding a new theme.
It does, yeah. But I think, again, it's kind of on the fine line of it. But I still believe that changing the trains in that kind of context is the same credit still.
Okay.
It's all about the track for me. If the track doesn't change, then it's the same coaster and the same credit. Andrew asks, is the Intamin freefall model a credit? So back in the day, before they kind of used to have drop towers, Intamin built a drop tower that's basically a roller coaster. So it takes you to the top of the tower. It pushes you out of the tower forwards, and then you kind of do a curve, like at the bottom of a drop, you know, it curves to flat.
Oh, I know what you mean.
You go down and do that, and then kind of feed back in at the bottom.
Yeah, that's a ride.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah. What's the question?
Well, he says, is it a
credit?
roller coaster?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it a credit? And I
definitely.
agree, yeah, it is. It's exactly what we want. It's got a track.
Yeah.
Under gravity, you go down it. Why wouldn't it be a credit?
It looks
It's
like
unconventional, but yeah, it's still a roller
It looks
coaster.
like the kind of looks like the one at Disney where you sit in the car.
Tower of Terror.
No. In Toy Story Land, you sit in the car and it just does like a U.
Oh,
It's like that, but half of it, you know?
yeah.
What's
Yeah, it
that
is
ride
actually.
cause?
I was going to say Slinky Dog Dash, but that's not what it is.
It's
It's,
the remote
RC
controlled
Racer.
truck. Yeah.
RC Racer, yeah. Which is a credit,
Yeah,
just to put out there.
definitely.
Yeah. And then finally, before we get onto the poll of this episode and the final two different types of roller coasters that we need to discuss, we'll briefly talk about alpine coasters. So these are coasters that, or are they? Well, these are rides that you often find on the side of like mountains. So there's a small track with like bobsled carts that you go down it on.
Mate, I went on one of these in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Does it count as a credit?
Well, right. This is again where
It wasn't really very coastery.
I believe that if the alpine coaster, quote coaster, has a track, like a rail,
Yeah, this
it's
one
a
didn't.
coaster, right?
It was
If
like
it-
a tube in the ground kind of thing.
If it's a tube in the ground and a half pipe kind of thing, it's not a coaster.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is difficult because then stuff like the bobsled coaster, like Avalanche at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, that's a half pipe.
That's
but
really
that's
weird
a coaster.
though. I wouldn't necessarily call that a coaster.
Well,
It's a ride.
I'd call it a coaster.
Would you?
Yeah. It has wheels and it has a track, partially. But then so do these half-pipe ones. They do
You're
have a
just
track to get you back
contradicting
up to the
yourself
top.
now.
So, but yeah, this is where it gets really tough. Because sometimes you do have to kind of apply different logic. So, for me, yeah, alpine coasters,
I
if
guess
they're tracked, they're
because
credits.
the alpine coaster is no, not that one. The bobsled one.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's on legs. What do you call them?
It's because it sounds like it's on. I know what you mean. It's on
It's
supports.
raised
It's a
up
big scale.
and it
Yeah.
like a coaster is.
Yeah.
Whereas the alpine ones that are tubes are just like a tube in the ground kind of thing. It's not really built like a coaster is.
No. Well, so would you agree then with my logic?
Yeah. Bobsled, yes. Alpine coaster with a track, yes. With a tube, no.
Yeah. And RCDB follows the same rules. If it's got a track, then it's a credit, and if it's a tube, then it's not a credit.
So Holden asks, is Lightning Racers 2 credits?
So Lightning Racers is like a pair of coasters that are next to each other. No, they're known as racing coasters. So 2 tracks, 2 stations, 2 credits. Simple as. I mean, the tracks are often quite close to each other and maybe usually stick together and follow the same elements. But they're 2 separate tracks and they have 2 separate stations and 2 separate sets of trains. So then they're 2 credits.
Do they swap over and go into the other station?
No,
at the end?
racing coasters don't. They're purely 2 separate circuits.
Exactly, 2 credits.
Yeah, exactly. They're 2 different coasters, So,
Yeah.
But then what you're talking about then is Mobius loop coasters. And
One credit, mate. One
this is where
credit.
it gets very, very interesting.
One credit.
Archie asks, does Grand National count as 2 credits? In my opinion, it does. And Archie, you goddamn right, sir.
No, you are
Mobius
not.
loop coasters with 2 stations. Any roller coaster that has 2 stations, right, where you have to get off and then get back on to experience both, is 2 credits. The Grand National, right, if you got on one side and got off the other, right, you've ridden half of the layout, half of the overall layout.
Yeah.
You can't count half a credit, so it's 1
Oh,
credit
no, I'm not counting
per
half.
side.
This is where you get very confused, mate.
No, but you can't
I'm
go...
not counting half
But
a
how,
credit.
how? So you're saying to me, right, that you have to ride it twice
Yeah.
to get a credit?
Yeah.
That just doesn't make sense.
Because it's all joined up as one track. So
As soon
that's
as you get
one
off the
credit.
ride, your experience has stopped in that
No.
sense, and that's the end of the ride.
No.
Therefore, it is 1 credit per
But
side.
I think it's not a half thing. It's like if you went on one side of it, you'd just get a credit. And if you went on the other side, it would just be the same
You'd
credit.
still get the same credit.
Yeah. Because it's joined up.
But
It's the
literally,
same track.
But it's literally a racing coaster where the 2 tracks are side by side, but at the very end, it just swaps station.
No, it doesn't swap
Yes, it does.
station. It's
It
joined
does.
up.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is each coaster has a different track. Each side has a different track, a different layout. They're not on top of each other.
No. Okay. Let's think of it a different way. Imagine there's only one car, so forget the other car, right? The other car
Yeah.
doesn't exist. One car goes round the track, comes back in the other side, right? Goes round again.
Yeah, okay.
It's
but
that.
What you don't get, right, is purely the act of getting off the ride makes it count as 2 credits. If
No,
it only
no.
had 1 station, fine. But because it's got 2 stations, is because you get off the ride and have to get back on the other side if you want to ride the other side.
But Harry, you
That's
get
2
back
credits.
on the ride on the same exact track that you were just on.
It doesn't matter. It's 2 stations. It's 2 stations. 2 separate stations. And that's what makes it, right?
Oh my god. It's the same station. It's just
No,
next
it's
to
not.
There's 2
it's
lines.
2 stations.
There's 2 lines.
There's 2 stations because the train stops at. There's 2 points where you board and unboard.
Yeah, but
unload.
it's the same. You're boarding on the same track.
Yeah, technically you're boarding on the same track, right? But as I said, you have to ride it.
So you think
ride
2
it
credits?
inside.
You think 2 credits?
It's 2 credits. Yeah, easily.
So
I
you
don't...
get a left credit and a right credit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's ridiculous.
No.
It's 1 credit.
Well, the poll, that's exactly what the poll was, and we asked everyone how many credits are Mobius Loop coasters, e.g. the Grand National.
And guess what the result was?
Yeah, well, 68% of people said that it's 1 credit, and then a measly 32 agreed with me and said it was 2.
So in other words, well done, guys. You were correct.
It's just, no, I don't see how it can be 1 credit still, because at the end of the day, if you ride the left side and then ride the right side, you're in a different place on each one, you know? You're going around a different...
Yeah, but
the track isn't
track's
identical
joined.
each side. I know it's joined, right? And that's the only thing
if
that
you
makes it
cut
blurry.
the track, you know, and just left it open, I'd be like, yeah, that's 2 coasters now.
No, I'm not agreeing. Zach says exactly as I do.
No.
Zach's a great guy, right? He's a great guy. He says 2 separate queues, 2 separate stations, 2 separate rides. If the park run it so you have to get off and re-queue up to get on the other side, then it's 2 credits in my eyes. And Zach, you're right. Easily right. It's 2. It's 2 of everything, as Zach says. There's 2 queues, 2 stations, and 2 rides.
And guess what? There's only 1 of.
A track.
1 track, mate.
Yeah, but
Which is
as
the
I said,
thing you
have
keep
to get
going
off.
on about. You keep going, it's all about the track. And
Well,
now
Joe says, well, this is it. Joe says, what do you mean? 2 tracks are 2 credits. Well,
it's 1 track, Joe.
technically it's 1
Are
track,
you
but
joking?
it's just, I don't know. I always feel like it is 2 credits purely because you have to ride, you have to get off. That's the deal breaker. And Eric says, depends. Grand National is 2, but Twisted Colossus is 1. So Twisted Colossus is an RMC conversion of a wooden coaster, and that wooden coaster used to have 2 stations and 2 separate tracks, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they renovated it, they basically took out one of the stations and joined up the end of the first track to the start of the second.
I'm
Right.
confused now. So it's like Grand National,
Yeah,
but with 1 station.
but with 1 station. And at that point, because it's only got 1 station, it's 1 credit. It's just an elongated ride, right?
It doesn't matter about the station, though. It's about the track, mate.
No, it matters about the station.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, so 1 station, 1 credit. 2 stations, 2 credits.
1 track, 1 credit, 2 tracks, 2
No.
credits.
No, it's effectively 2 tracks anyway.
I
you know?
cannot
It's
believe
just-
that you think that.
It's just, it doesn't make sense to me that you believe a different thing. I can't believe that 68% of people thought that
I
it's
can.
1
I
credit.
thought it was going to be more.
No.
I was like, we're going to get 92%.
Listen to
It's going to be
me,
like
right?
only Harry
Listen.
that voted for 2.
No. It's just, I don't get it. I don't get it. If you have to queue 2 separate times, it's 2 separate credits. End of.
Well, we're going to stop arguing now. At least for a little bit. And I guess we should ask people to give us their feedback on this one, because it's quite a lot of controversial topics. So tweet us, tell us what you think. 2 credits all the way. Let us know that you agree that. And then Harry can feel better about himself. And so tweet us. Remember to look on Twitter for the polls so you can be involved with that.
All of this is at CBR Podcast.
Yes. But if you just search for us, you'll find it. And we've got a new home on the Coasterbot website. So we're no longer on SoundCloud. We're going to be using the website from now on. Everything's on there. Loads of stuff for you to go and look at. Ways to get in touch.
So you can listen to and download the podcast on the website. So that's coasterbot.com/podcast.
Send us a voice message if you feel brave enough. We'd love to hear your voices rather than just read off Twitter. It'd be more exciting. And then other than that, iTunes, pop us a little review if you feel like it, and we'll be forever grateful.
Also, if you have any ideas of what you'd like us to talk about or discuss on the podcast, do let us know. So either tweet me, at Coasterbot, or the podcast at CBR Podcast. Because we're always in need for more topic of discussions. This one was quite an interesting one, and more stuff like this where it's a bit more integrated, a bit more argumentative. I kind of like. It's a good thing.
We love a good argument.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts on what we should do in the future.